Okay, I'm going to try and make a little how-to video for the I-cord edging of the Shadowplay mitt. You can see I've got the stitches from the top of the ribbing, and I've got 4 stitches here, or picked up from the edge of the garter stitch edging that I've put on. We're going to do a I-cord bind off, an attached I-cord, but I've got 3 stitches cast onto the DPN, and I'm going to knit them with these stitches that are on the garter stitch edging. However, all I've done for these garter stitch edging pieces is just pick them up. I haven't actually knitted a stitch through them. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to knit a stitch onto the end of the DPN, and then, as with a normal I-cord bind off, I'm going to slip the stitches back to the edge of the needle that I've got the rest of the stitches on, and do a knit SSK. So knit the first 2 stitches, if I can actually knit that one. 1, 2 stitches, and then I'm going to slip, and knit through the back loop. So you can see that I had to actually pick up that stitch first before I could knit it. Now, normal I-cord bind off, I would slip these 3 stitches back and carry on, but this stitch hasn't actually been knitted, so I'm going to knit it first, and then slip the stitches back to the left-hand needle. There we go. And slipping them back is a little bit more tricky in this video. Holding the stitches far away from me like this is a little bit more challenging. So again, I'm going to knit the first 2 stitches like normal, and then I'm going to slip, and knit the next 2 stitches together. Oh, I keep losing it. Here we go. They're not wanting to move over. I've almost got them all. Never realized how challenging it was to try and knit with the iPad in between you and the stitches that you're working on. Okay, so here I've still got 2 stitches that are garter stitch edging, so I'm going to actually knit a stitch onto that next stitch first, and again slip them back as you usually do with an I-cord bind off. And again, knit. Things are not going as smoothly here as I would like, but knit, slip, and knit. And again, the last stitch that is on the garter stitch edging, I'm going to knit it first, and slip back and do the I-cord bind off for this stitch. Almost done. This one also doesn't want to move over. There we go. Okay, so that's the end of the garter stitch edging, but the next challenge is we've got 3 stitches from the edge of the corrugated ribbing, and when you pick up stitches, this first stitch actually is behind. It's sort of like the seam stitch, and you don't actually want to have that knitted individually because you want it folded behind for the seam. And so when I do those two, I'm actually going to do them, I'm going to slip them together and knit them together so they will lie, the back one will actually lie behind in the seam. So I'm going to do a normal I-cord, knit, knit. I'm going to slip the first stitch, the last stitch rather, of my I-cord, and then I'm going to slip these two together because I want the second stitch actually to lie in front of the first stitch. So I'm going to slip them together, and then I'm going to knit 3 together. So I've just got the first 2, and now I'm going to just lift the other one just because it's a little bit easier to knit this last one, pull it over the top. So now we've got the first 4 stitches of the garter stitch edging with an I-cord on top, and the first 2 stitches of the corrugated ribbing. From here on across the top of the corrugated ribbing, you're just going to do a normal attached I-cord until you get to the far end, when you're going to do a similar thing in reverse for the edging stitch, and then for the garter stitch edging at the far side. So I'm going to turn off the video now and show you when I get to the other side what happens after you've completed the top of the cast off.